Greetings. It's Tuesday. It's almost 11 a.m. and that's time for top trades. I am basically in a phone booth, I think, in New York. So if I sound weird, and the only thing I will say, I'm in New York, I'm at a WeWork, and I will say there are like a ton of people just cruising around in this WeWork working. So if only they knew what was going on in this phone booth, Gunner.
Your audio sounds great, by the way.
Well, maybe I should stay in this phone booth.
Yeah.
Just hang out here forever. Well, we can get started. I guess we'll do a quick agenda. I put it in the comments. I see some comments already coming in on YouTube. If you got anything to say, you want to say hi, if you got any questions or tickers, go ahead and put it in there. But looking at the agenda, right, we've got some snapback trade ideas, some rotation trade ideas. We've got the Ethereum ETF, and a lot of things moving here. So, Gunnar, I'll let you take it away. You're keeping an eye on the market. What are you seeing today? Where do you want to kick it off here on top trades?
Well, the market's been choppy so far this week, and I think that's part of the deal with this rotation trade right here. No one was really expecting this rotation. I mean, no one outside of, the technical community and the people who really look at market structure and how markets operate was expecting that. A majority of people were riding their Nvidia shares. Were perfectly happy being in the Mag 7 stocks, the mega cap tech, all the stuff that was pushing the market higher. And they were right, obviously. Those were great trades for the first half of the year. Last week, something changed pretty big, and we saw small caps break out in a big way. We saw biotech break out in a big way. We saw a lot of tech growth stocks start to bottom out, and we've been tracking those trades. And this is where it gets a little hairy, where you have this indecision. You've had these big thrusts higher, obviously, in these different groups, and you've had some resets in the semiconductors and in the Mag 7 stocks. And now everyone is just sort of standing around trying to figure out what to do next. Are these rotation trades for real? Are they going to stick? Are they going to extend higher? Those are the big questions right now, which is why we're seeing kind of this janky back and forth action in the markets. I think we got a lot of folks jockeying for position, not knowing what to do. So we'll have a day like yesterday, which was kind of like an opposite day, I like to say, where the mega caps and the semiconductors and all those, they were all pushing higher while some of the other rotation trades just sort of percolated and sat on the sidelines a little bit.
Mhm.
And then today we have a situation where small caps have come back from the dead. They started in the hole early on Monday. They caught some buying into the close, into the afternoon. And then today, the Russell was lagging again in pre-market, and it caught a bid and is pushing higher, and it's currently leading the NASDAQ and the S&P, which are both pulling back from their highs. We saw a nice rally in Amazon earlier today, in LLY. Apple's up a little bit. So some of the mega caps are still looking really good so far this morning. Semiconductors are down again, though, on some bad earnings. So we're going to see how all this starts to play out. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth, and we'll have days where the stock market looks completely different than it did the day before until these rotation trades resolve. And I think they will eventually resolve to the upside. It's just a matter of time. We'll get into some of those charts in just a minute.
All right. And it hasn't been easy. I mean, again, you look at the markets and you look at some of the indexes, and it's like, oh, everything's kind of going up. But this is the whole year has been choppy, as you keep saying. The chop continues, and it hasn't been easy. So I know we have a lot of traders on this call. This is one of those things where it's like you're getting so many starts and stops. There's not a ton of follow through, but it's not an easy market to find winners in. But you're doing a good job at it, Gunner, and you're very regimented. So I'm looking forward to seeing where we're going.
Well, if you look at this, I think this sort of captures the sentiment right here. This was a Wall Street Journal article that I saw yesterday. It said the headline says it all: a stock market rotation of historic proportions is taking shape. Few investors saw the shift coming, and many are puzzled what's behind it. And we don't really have to overthink this, but that's what the financial media does. They want all of these reasons to be lined up. They want to have like a list of fundamental related reasons why these rotations are happening, when the reality probably is the tech trade got too hot. Nvidia is way too overbought. The semiconductors have rallied long enough. Again, I say this almost every week. I'm not bearish these stocks. I'm not bearish these themes. I think AI has a lot of staying power. I think that tech itself, I mean, it's a very important part of the market, obviously. There's a reason that it's a big chunk of the market now, and it's a big driving force behind these gains. However, when these trades get too hot, they need to consolidate. They need to go down a little bit. They need to move sideways for several months. They need to absorb, you know, some of this some of these huge rallies. You can't have a stock that goes up 200-300% and then expect it to just keep going and going and going and going. It needs to rest. It needs to give back. It needs to keep people honest. It needs to shake people out. You know, it needs to make people nervous in order to embark on that next leg higher. And I think that's what we're seeing this summer. We're starting to see that shift happen. And you can see, and this is, you know, I don't usually like pull up articles like this on these talks, but I think there's some really good charts in here that really illustrate this. You can see how poorly the Russell was doing here in the bottom panel and how it's just abruptly catching up to the S&P. And even more recently, you can see this performance since July 10th right here with the Russell 2000, the small cap index way out in front with over 5% gain. And then you see your Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, NVIDIA, all in the red and lagging. So obviously, a lot of folks didn't see this coming and they're scrambling to get on the correct side of this trade. And we're going to see how that plays out. The first chart I have pulled up right here is just the FANG Plus index. These are your mega caps. You know, your big tech stocks, your Metas, your Googles, your Apples, and all that combined into one nice chart. And you can see here, there's nothing wrong with this trend. These stocks are still very much trending higher right here. The situation is, though, they peaked out back on July 10th, which is coincidentally, well, not coincidentally, where this chart begins, this performance since July 10th right here, this chart on the Wall Street Journal, and they've been slipping lower ever since then. Abruptly so on a few days, not so much on others. They are trying to, you know, get a little relief rally going right here this week. But for the most part, these are the stocks that are moving lower, and the stocks that are moving higher are your small caps, your growth names, biotechs, all of the stuff that people really didn't want anything to do with earlier this year, they're piling into right now. Are these trades going to be great the rest of the year? Are they going to be big second half trades? Not all of them, I don't think. I would really like to focus on stocks like your tech growth names for shorter term trades. I think some of those will pop and then drop back into ranges. There's a lot of garbage down there that people are probably just buying anything they can get their hands on, because if these out of favor stocks are all of a sudden coming back into favor, they want to ride them for as long as they can. But we don't know how long that momentum will continue, because a lot of them are still in really ugly downtrends. But I'd like to try to play those on quick breakouts for those quick swing trading gains. And then you have something like IWM, which has finally, after teasing us for how many months, going back to all the way to December, when it looked like this was going to be a market leader heading into 2024, and it just wasn't. It was just a choppy mess. And then it finally breaks out and it's flagging right here. I think this particular trade, it's going to give us a lot of opportunities to play it in the months ahead. I think this could really stick and move higher in this particular market. But what we're seeing right now is a lot of these charts look the same. We have these big thrusts higher, these big unexpected rallies, and then they're just flagging. And that's what's happening right here. You could argue that maybe IWM is breaking out today. I think that's a fair thing to say right here. But we're seeing these flagging patterns where you get the big thrust higher, and now the stock needs to consolidate. And if it does break out to the upside here and it begins testing these ranges and it does close above here into maybe like the 223, 224 range, you know, over today and tomorrow, then I would say we're going to embark on that next leg higher. And this trade is just going to scream forward for us. So I'm looking to get in on plays like this. There's different ways you can play this. I don't know, Matt, do you play the plays like TNA, which is the small cap bull 3X?
I'm not on that one, but I again, those are good. They're not something you want to be in long term, but they're very good traders. So like anything that's 3X, again, it's leverage, so it's going to have all this weird headwind. But for these short-term moves, that thing can explode higher. So I haven't been in that one particularly, but whenever I see some of these rotations, whether it's like commodities or this or that, like looking at some of those triple X, they're a decent spot to be.
Yeah, like you said, they're great trading vehicles. Nothing to hold long-term, obviously, because there's decay involved. But these are great trading vehicles to play, and you can even play options on them, I think, which is even crazier. So you get leverage on leverage. So you can really capitalize on those moves right there. And then you don't have situations where you're trying to pick out some individual small cap that's not optionable or running into earnings risk or anything like that. You're just playing this basket of stocks that's really catching a bid, and that's exactly what's happening here. And what I think is interesting is I just showed you the Russell 2000 ETF, IWM, this chart right here, which is obviously flagging and trying to come out of this flag. Biotechs look exactly the same. If I could actually type. You look right here, and these were stocks, again, that looked like they might attempt to play nice with us and, play with the market leaders after that melt-up rally. They caught a big-time bid after waterfalling lower in October of 2023. They melted up higher into the new year. And then when January hits, they all gave up and never were really able to get past those highs. Then 10th, 11th, 12th, we started to see these big breakouts, breaking out to new 52-week highs for IBB. And now you can see it's flagging just like IWM. Again, it's not an exact science here. We're not looking to draw these lines perfectly and play them the second that they break out of these consolidation patterns. You're just looking to see if it's going to consolidate here and then push on strong volume and get back out of that range and embark on what's potentially the second leg of this breakout from these lows here back in early July. So setting up very similarly to IWM. And then, Matt, I know you know this one. You got the Labu on right here, which is your biotech bull 3x shares. So another.
Yeah, I've got exposure to that one. And there was a question in the comments. Brad was asking, what do you mean by triple X? They try and do 3 times the return of the index. So it's leveraged. There's all sorts of stuff going behind the scenes in these ETFs. But basically what that LABU is trying to do, there's a biotech ETF, like a regular index. It's trying to make 3x the move. So if the index is up 1%, this 3x will make 3% that day. If it's up 3%, it'll make 9%. So it's all just leverage. They're doing options and different things behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a way to buy options without buying options. Again, due to decay, it's not a good idea to hold these longer term. You can see here just how powerful these downside moves can be, and obviously it magnifies the downside just like it magnifies the upside right here. But for breakout purposes and for swing trading purposes, where you're not holding on to these very long, they make great trading vehicles. And again, we're seeing this flag, and like Matt said,
I think I bought right on that little right where the top part is.
Right here is right here.
Yeah, so I think I'm in somewhere around there. I had to deal with that big red candle, and that's when I was like, oh, this is a really bad idea. But it's coming back a little bit.
Well, yeah, I think these trades have legs right here. I think these could be good plays moving forward. I'm being a little bit cautious in trying to get into them, especially with small caps and biotechs, because I feel like with the choppy start we had this week, we could have a market that in the morning it looks one way, and then by 2 p.m. you're looking at an entirely different set of stocks that are really driving things higher or lower. So I want to make sure that we're kind of out of the weeds of this summer chop, and that these trends are really going to resolve to the upside before digging in and trying to buy these. I'm in no hurry to jump the gun, because if we do get a move that is equal to or even close to the initial push that we saw from early July, you're going to make money on these trades regardless of whether you're quote unquote early or not. So I'd rather play it safe, when we get into these little choppy.
If you bring up like IBB is just a regular that's not leveraged, it's just an index. But like that one, if you go a little further back, right? Like that's got plenty of upside.
Oh, I think it has plenty of upside. And again, biotechs and small caps are very similar in the fact that neither of them were in favor during the early part of this bull market in late 2022 and the entire year of 2023. You can see here where, yes, they bottomed out in the summer of 2022, but they never really got traction and were able to push higher all throughout 2023. This is January 2023. This is when the AI craze really started taking off right here. And I think that's a good part of it. I think that AI and the semiconductors and the mega caps kind of sucked all the air out of the room. And anybody who was looking to maybe, at the time, if we want to pretend like we didn't know what was going on, anybody that was looking to maybe play a bottom in biotechs or anything of that nature right there, when these started just not materializing and not pushing higher, I think everybody just went over to the other side of the boat and decided, okay, I'm going to play NVIDIA, I'm going to play Microsoft or what have you. And those were the trades. Whereas, looking down the cap scale, looking at the forgotten biotechs, they weren't doing much of anything. And they actually, they peaked here in February and then just were sideways to lower the rest of the year. And they've been kind of working on that base ever since then. So, I mean, we could actually, take this line and, drag it back even further right here. I think this is a good polarity zone to think about. This 140, 139, 140 area. This seems to be, where you would expect it to flip from long-term bearish to longer-term bullish. It's just a matter of, when is this move going to materialize higher? How's it going to stick? Because I think there still is the potential risk of this having to retreat all the way back down here and retrace this move a little bit. If things get choppier in the overall market, I don't think that's out of the question. But if these stay really strong and this breaks out, above 146, 147 here and pushes higher, then I think we get another thrust higher almost immediately, and it doesn't ever turn back, and we don't see 140 again ever, or for a very long time, depending upon how the market goes. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about these right now. But, like I said, we're going to see days where the semiconductors snap back because there's going to be a lot of folks who aren't necessarily trapped in some of those trades, but they're trying to play a bounce because the market has trained us that you can buy any dip in NVIDIA or, pick your semiconductor, your mega cap, and you'll be rewarded. That might not be the case this time around. And when people start to realize that and they try to buy these dips and they're too early, then I think that these rotation trades are going to take off even more because folks are going to realize that this is for real and this is going to stick and it's going to spin us higher.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good place to be looking. And again, I like the long term of something just, biotech, even in that ETF, you're saying it might do a little pullback, but it's got so much upside you could kind of sit in it for a little while.
Yeah, and again, they're very similar. Like because with small caps and with biotechs, I'm not really super excited about buying individual names as much as I am, the ETFs, because I feel like that takes a lot of the risk out. And when you have like really clean breakouts like this, if it does stick and move higher, I think you have a really good high percentage bet that you'll do well on a trade like that moving forward. But I also think, to switch gears, that we could be seeing some bigger moves in crypto too. Bitcoin has been in an interesting position ever since it looked like it was breaking down here earlier this month. So maybe this should be lumped in with this rotation trade as well, because I mean, Bitcoin had gone straight down for a solid month from the top of its range where you and I were talking about, well, it looks like it's going to test its all-time highs and try to break out from here.
Yeah.
And it didn't do that. It completely failed. And it broke down below this big, wide, choppy range it's been in since almost the very beginning of the year. Looked like it was left for dead here. And then all of a sudden, pow, buyers step in. And aside from yesterday and today, where it's pulled back just a little bit, it's been going straight up. And it feels like, again, we're going to get a retest of that 70K range. And, it could get nice and tight up here and then try to break out to new all-time highs, or we could just be in a big, wide-ranging chop. We'll have to see how it materializes. But for right now, I mean, I think we should be paying close attention to crypto as well. And will crypto will the crypto trade separate from the big tech trade too? I think that would be interesting as well if it sort of took on a life of its own here. Matt mentioned earlier, we have the Ethereum ETF approvals that just came through late last night. Is that going to be a big catalyst? Is there just going to be more money flowing into crypto because of that? I think that'll be interesting to see. But overall, like when you have a big fake out like this, and everybody, including me, thought lights out for Bitcoin, it's not going to go anywhere. It probably is going to have to chop around. I mean, that was my main idea, that like since we're below this range, Bitcoin's probably going to have to chop around between 50 and 60. And maybe it'll stick around there for weeks. Maybe it'll take months. It didn't spend a lot of time down there at all.
Yeah.
It was almost immediately bought, a week and a half later. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, after a big fake move like that, I feel like you have to sort of give credit where credit's due to the bulls and assume that we're going to go up and test those highs again. And again, crypto being crypto here, it seems like every time Bitcoin looks like it's going to roll over, a new wave of buyers steps in and pushes it higher. So it'll be very interesting to see like how this resolves. And if it resolves, do we get the big trades setting up for us in some of the crypto miners or the other crypto adjacent stocks? Coinbase looks really, really good right now. You can see here, you don't
Yeah.
really, you need to draw a line right here. It's been creeping up and it's much closer to those highs, which are around 280-ish. I mean, that would be a major breakout right here for Bitcoin, or for Coinbase, sorry, which has been, stuck in this sideways chop since February. So, I mean, I think we could see a major thrust higher here. And, if that goes, that probably means that crypto is going too. So yeah, I think very tradable, kind of an expensive stock. I mean, not really in the day $1,000 share price, but it's in the high $200 range. So kind of an expensive stock, but nonetheless, I think it's a good trading stock. If you want to go smaller, Hut 8, the Canadian crypto miner, has been on fire, and they've been talking a lot about this pivot to AI since
Yeah.
they have all the server space or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see how this one resolves. But this looks a lot different than your Maras, your CLSKs, your Riots right now. This is not faltered really. Yes, it's had some down days, but it's been straight up since late May, early June. So that's a really hot looking chart too. And again, very tradable stock right there. A lot of eyeballs and interest on this one. And so we'll see how that goes. And then another one is Robinhood. Obviously, I own shares of Robinhood. I've owned shares for a while. I think this is a case of it got a little bit ahead of itself right here. You can see kind of it looked like it was breaking out and then retreated back into its range right there. Maybe it just needs to come back down here and retest. I don't think this is a broken trend at all. But if it starts moving again and gets back over 24, then I think you'll get another thrust higher. Right now, it's just consolidating, getting tight, which is what you want to see if you're a bull here. I know there's some people in chat that have been putting on some shorter term trades in Robinhood. I think it'll trigger to the upside eventually. But we need to see a big green candle right here with some volume coming in. This was nice early last week, or the 15th and 16th. And now we just need to see if it can absorb that big red candle. There was a lot of big red candles like that on Thursday that sort of rippled through all of these groups, from the tech growth trade to even like the big FANG stocks, the semiconductors, Mag 7s, and all that stuff. We'll see how it resolves from here.
Yeah, those are all a bunch of good looking charts. And again, if you would have blinked and missed that downturn in Bitcoin, kind of go, oh, well, Bitcoin's at 67,000, everything's fine. Yeah. That's just how it works. It looked like it was really breaking down, and now it's back. And this could be the time. We always say it. We're like, oh, it was going to go 55 or 85. Well, it went down close to 55, and now might be on the way to 85.
Yeah, and I don't think we necessarily need to see like a big semiconductor or Mag 7 meltdown for these trades to really take shape and push higher. This market could remain strong-ish all summer, and we might just see, now that some of the air's let out of these trades, we might just see them chop along. The Nvidia's up 2 days in a row. It's not breaking down here, really. I mean, yeah, it's got like these two big ugly engulfing candles right here, but it posted two of them back here, in March and April, and then it looked like it was going to roll over at the end of April right here, and then, well, of course, it didn't, and it ran from a split adjusted 75 all the way up to 140 before it slowed down again. So I wouldn't count these stocks out. I'm not saying that this is the time to go all in on a semiconductor short. I mean, this could just very well need to look like that Bitcoin chart. Maybe it just needs to do this for a few months to reset and then pick up where it left off in the fall. I think it's entirely possible right here. A lot can happen between then and now, but I don't think we can rule that out. I don't think it's time to start digging Nvidia's grave or anything like that. And the same goes for a Microsoft, which is bouncing again today. These stocks, they obviously got a little too hot right here and became overextended. There's nothing wrong with these things pulling back. They're fine. I just think the hot trades are going to be elsewhere. Here's Google, exact same chart as Microsoft, same deal. Meta has been a little bit choppier since February, but again, these charts are not broken. It's not time to get bearish on the mega caps. Rather, I'm just shifting my trading focus to the stuff that might really start working. If we do, see these rotation trades continue to press higher from here.
Yep. Now, I'm just going to be selfish. This is a stock that I own, but I kind of want to see it. This is a interlude into where you go next. But can you pull up ASTS?
ASTS?
Yeah. This one, if anyone's in this one caught fire a little while ago, and it's a satellite company. Again, I'm speaking quickly here. I'm not deep into this, but like the chart does the talking for you. But this is one of those big stories where, do our cell phones talk to cell towers 5 years from now, or do they talk to satellites? And this thing is the one that's, I think they have a deal with Verizon.
So this was a COVID SPAC, I'm guessing, with a $10
Hey,
share price. All of a
a
sudden,
a SPAC above $10. That's a rare little animal,
right?
but
you can see this was a COVID trader. You go back here. Here's December 2020, and it went from $10 to 25, and then it hasn't seen those levels since. But now you can see it's creeping up on those highs from August of 22 and July of 21. This could be a pretty major area for it. I don't know this stock.
yeah.
That's a heck of a chart, though. Something definitely changed somewhere around here. I don't know what they said on this earnings report, but it's absolutely exploded higher since then. So that's an interesting pick right here. I can't help think of space, though, which I don't think that's recovered.
No. Space.
There's space. There's
Virgin Galactic. No. This is not, I'm not betting on rockets. I'm betting on they send these little satellites. Think about, that's what I also looked at. Like you look at the market cap of like the cell phone tower companies. Like there's REITs, there's like Crown Castle, there's like all these different things. They have such a huge market cap. And then you look at something like, well, what if we don't have cell phone towers anymore and all that stuff goes through satellites,
What was
So
what was the ticker again? AS what?
ASTS.
But yeah, I mean, definitely interesting. I think it might need, this is a great spot for it to rest right here. If it could consolidate, and I know this is kind of a wide range for such a small price stock, but like if it can bounce around between like 12 and $14 for a little while right here, it'll absolutely blast off if then you get like a close like above $15 or something, So very interesting from a stock that, I would have declared dead like somewhere along in here.
Oh yeah.
Bucks looked like it was on a long walk off a short pier right there, and it's back. So interesting stuff. And you get those big moves from the stocks that nobody wants, and then all of a sudden something changes. Not to go back to the old Carvana story, but it's kind of the same deal where everybody's bearish, and then all of a sudden, you just get something that's like, hey, actually we're not going out of business, and then pow. That's the only catalyst you need, to get people piling back into it.
Yep. But yeah, I see there's some comments in the chat just talking about small cap rotation. The other thing, again, I'm shameless on this. Everyone kind of knows work at Paradigm Press. We're always publishing ideas. We've always got trying to launch new services, that sort of stuff, following where the markets are going. And James Altucher does have that summit on Thursday, calling it the Super Stock Summit. But James is really into this rotation into, small cap stocks, where things are heading. He's got some picks. So if you're around for that one, I think we go live at 8 p.m. on Thursday for the Super Stock Summit. So that'll be James sort of unveiling a new thesis there. But this rotation's real. It's getting picked up everywhere. We're seeing a bunch of movement in it. If we get a rate cut or a couple, we're heading in that direction.
Yeah, and like I said, I like it as one of those themes that can extend much farther beyond my time frame. Like I think we could be sitting here in December, January, talking about like, holy crap, I can't believe IWM is up that much from that one rally that came out of nowhere back in the summer. It could easily be up like 30-40%. That's just how these stocks operate. That's not a prediction, but this has happened before. And if these rotations stick and they extend, we could see them handily outperform, the NASDAQ and S&P over that time frame. And again, it doesn't mean that those bigger stocks are going to crash either. They can just mark time while, these other groups sort of take the baton and run with it and become the market leading trades, which again, I think is a possibility here, which is why I've been so laser focused on, watching how these rallies unfold and develop and how they consolidate. How they consolidate is just as important, because if you're in a situation where you have, a big thrust higher like this, and then it just gives it all back and falls back down into its range, then you're toast. But for something to break out like this and then to, post a nice bull flag so beautifully and looks like it wants to come out the top side of this thing and run again, it's extremely bullish. I would still be bullish if it came down and retested this like 210, 209 area and then bounced as well. But the fact that it's managed to hang on up here, and let's not forget, like Thursday was a really wicked day. You can look at any of the snapback trades. You look at ARC, which kind of gives you the picture. I mean, that was a big, ugly red candle right here. ARC was down 4%. Which is one of the trades we have on now, that's bouncing again today. This thing looked like it was going to take off, and then out of nowhere, all these stocks got smacked down almost 10% on the day, and then tried to gather itself and is trying to push higher this week. This is kind of do or die for this trade right now. But you can see what happens with some of these hard resets on these stocks that nobody likes. These stocks are still within downtrends. So there's a possibility that you get a move that takes you on a stock like you from, $15 all the way above 20 in a heartbeat, or you can be in a situation where you get a big pop and a drop and then it goes again, or it could just die on the vine. So you kind of have to play them as you see them. I think Square is another good, or Block, whatever you call it, is another good example of this, where it was at the point of no return here, and it started rallying and started curling higher along with a lot of these other growth plays. And then on Thursday, look at that big ugly candle, and it still hasn't recovered from it. Again, this stock isn't like dead in the water, but at the same time, it's lost a lot of that momentum right there when people were trying to rotate into these snapback plays. Maybe it recovers, maybe it needs more time, maybe it comes right back down here at the bottom of its range. I don't know. It does have earnings coming up on the 1st. But again, some of these plays, they're going to be stuck in the chop. They're going to be stuck in their downtrend, and they're not going to be able to come out of them. You're just going to get these relief rallies that fizzle. Other ones, they're going to look like that stock that Matt showed us. They're going to start taking off, and nothing's going to stop them. And it's going to be tough to get into them because they're just going to gap higher and just run every single day, which is great. I mean, if you have the wherewithal to white knuckle a trade like that and to get in on those names and ride them higher, they can be really lucrative plays. It's just a matter of your risk tolerance and whether or not that stock can really run. And you also have to have the foresight to take the profits too. You look at a stock like we were talking about Hut, the crypto miner. Even though I think it's just still bullish looking right here, if you rode this from like $10 and it's doubled, this is a great spot to take profits too. You got to take some money off the table along the way of these like crazy trades right here, because you can see these shakeout moves where it was down 8.3% in a day, followed by a 5% move. These moves right here, that's what happens in markets where you have these sharp rallies. You're going to have these sharp resets. They don't look so bad in hindsight, but in real time, you throw your hands up, you're like, it's over. I got to get out of this thing. And you can see it here too. I mean, this had rallied all the way to 1740-ish on the day, and it flamed out and it closed back in the 15. So you can see these big round trips that it goes on. That's the market keeping us honest right there. And you really have to watch out for those moves when you're trying to, swing trade some of these names right here. You don't want to get caught up buying at the wrong time and then getting sucked into the hole immediately on your trades. You want to be able to time these where you're coming out of these flags. Like if I was going to buy something like Hut right here, I almost would want to see it close or at least get close to 21 before I bought into this again, so I didn't get caught up in one of these reset moves right here. And again, that's just maybe I'm playing it a little too safe on some of these, but you see the action today and you saw the action yesterday where, and again, look, we've talked the market higher since we started this call right here, Matt.
There we go.
We started in the red, and then it looked like we were going to roll over, bounced at break even, and now the averages are moving higher again. The Russell's leading. It looks like Mag sevens are pretty strong today, with Amazon leading the way right there. It's some weakness in the semiconductors due to the NXPI earnings that stunk, and it's down almost 10%. But the fact that Nvidia is holding break even, I don't think these stocks are dead. But I do think we're going to have the days, like I said, where we're going to go back and forth, where the Mag sevens are all red and then everything else is green. Then you go back the next day and the Mag sevens are all green and everything else is red. There's going to be a lot of jockeying for position over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Few questions coming in again. We might today's call we plowed through a bunch of stuff, so we might might be a little bit short here, which is good because we were action packed. But a few questions from the chat, Gunner. One is just, do you ever do long-term options, personally or otherwise?
No, I mean, Matt, you know this. I like to set up the trading desk to trade options like I like to trade them. I like to make those short-term directional bets using options. That's my favorite way to use them. As far as longer term goes, I like to buy shares of stocks and let them ride and think of it more as a trend following position trade right there. And I talked about this a few weeks ago with someone else, but some of my best longer term investments started out as position trades. And what I mean by that is I'm not trying to make these big fundamental predictions about a company. Yes, I like companies that have like a great pitch, like a great, like one sentence, like this is what we do, easy to understand. Everybody can get behind this. Earnings are growing, all that good stuff. That's great. But I don't waste my time trying to make these big, bold predictions about what's going to be happening 5-6 years down the line. Instead, if I pay attention to price and I buy a big breakout in a stock as it starts to get moving in the right direction, and I get a good cushion on that trade, like let's say that trade doubles, I'm much more able to ride that stock without being worried about it, worried about it flipping to a loss, any of that stuff. So if you can get a stock and catch that lightning in a bottle and then have it run for 6-7 months and then maybe take some shares off the table and then let the rest ride, those will turn into your best longer term investments right there, because the market has spoken about them. And once a stock doubles like that, it's more likely to double the next year. Those are the stocks that people are looking at. People are buying them for a reason, and you can sort of tune out all the other noise and just let it ride. So that's the way I think about my longer term investing. Sometimes those position trades, they'll run a little bit, maybe they'll correct, maybe I'll take some profits, maybe I'll get stopped out, and that's fine. But again, it's all about having a shorter term idea about something, and then once that starts working, just to let it work and not selling too early. So that's how I approach my longer term trades, if you want to call them that. But I'm always looking at things from a trader's mindset, not necessarily trying to pick a stock at its lows and say, like, this is going to be a big fundamental winner because X, Y, and Z. I wait for the market to show me what those winners are, and then I ride them as long as I can.
Yeah. A couple things that aren't connected. Want to look at a chart of copper or gold just to check those, and then otherwise we can leave it with any other last top trades you got for us.
Yeah, I think gold is still in a great position right here, and I think gold miners still look favorable. It might have just gotten a little bit ahead of itself right here. You see the big ugly, like almost $50 decline right here from Friday of last week that sort of pushed it back down here into its range. Gold's still above 2,400. I don't see anything bearish about this, and these lines might not be super accurate. We can play with them all we want to, but I think the fact remains is that, like, this is going to be a strong trade moving forward. The dollar isn't really doing that much right now to put a lid on this rally. GDX still looks good. I think that this could be a situation where, again, we're just looking at this thing flagging. Just like our small caps, just like biotechs right here. It's just a matter of biding our time and waiting to see how it comes out of this flag. Is this the right kind of annotation for this chart right here? I think it might be. if this is enough consolidation and if we get back up toward, 38, mid 38s right here, then I think it's safe to say that we might go on another run for the gold miners right there. So I think that's still a viable trade for this summer, no doubt about it. And if you're like holding stuff like a little bit longer term, I think you're totally fine here and not to worry. Um, I think people are kind of skittish about the volatility we're seeing in silver, but I think that's kind of part of the deal with silver.
Yep.
No, this breakout right here didn't really stick, and we're right back down to where we started again, around $29. Maybe it just needs more time in this area right here, and it needs to consolidate, and that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Remember, silver's been a dead trade for so long. I think this is just a case of like, commodities being commodities and it going on these big rallies and then giving a lot back. I think the one chart that just looks really bad is copper right now. Copper's been just decimated. I mean, it looked like it was going to be a world beater, and it can't catch a bid down here. I mean, it was above $5 back in May, and it's down considerably. I mean, it did post a little bit of a relief rally here, but it's fallen off a cliff. It was down almost 3.5% last Thursday when all these different trades were starting to fall apart and there was a lot of selling. And I mean, when was the last time that it booked a positive settlement? Friday the 12th. So I mean, yeah, this is a 100% reset from this big rally right here. I don't know where this thing's going to land, but I mean, this looked like something major was happening and it just got totally smashed. I don't know if like too many people chased into it and there's just no follow through or what, but this is commodities being commodities though. This is how it goes. You just have to be careful with some of these trades right here. I was all bulled up on copper here and then I haven't touched it since. So we'll see how this resolves, but obviously I think it needs more time before it's going to set up for another move to the upside. It just might be stuck in an ugly range for a while.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll give you the last words. Anything else? Anything else flashing on your screen week over week? Anything you like for the upcoming week? We got a bunch of tickers in the small cap ETFs, some rotation stuff, some again, a lot of constructive things in Bitcoin and the crypto space. Anything else?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of make or break growthy names out there. I think you got to be selective with them. I don't think every single growth stock is just going to explode higher, but there's a lot of recent IPOs. I think Reddit is a good looking chart. And again, like you can see people buying the extremes here at 75 and then it getting smacked down last week, but it's resolving pretty nicely. And you really can't hate this. I mean, buyers are stepping in right where you would expect them to right here. And here are these post-IPO highs right here from back in March. I mean, it wouldn't have surprised me to see a stock like this, top out at 65, $75 on the IPO hype and then drop down into the 30s and do nothing for 2 years, and give you like one of those traditional IPO bases right here. But there's a real appetite for the stock, obviously. It's had some really big moves. Folks were very receptive to its first earnings announcement and they like what they saw. That's pretty nice to see. It does have earnings coming up on the 6th of August. So that's a potential speed bump, or it just might be, gasoline on the fire and just shoot this thing higher. I have no idea what earnings are going to be, obviously. But this is shaping up really nicely and is a popular stock. And maybe it's popular for a reason. Maybe this is going to be, the next top thing for a while. But yeah, I mean, like just various charts like this that are popping up that look good. Like HUT looks really good, like we went over earlier. I know I've been talking a lot about like Tesla and Rivian. I picked up shares of Rivian a few weeks ago. This week of the VW joint venture announcement. I think this is potentially flagging for another move higher. And this is obviously a growthier name right here. So I think there could be some really good short-term trades that come out of this tech growth/growth area of the market. It's just a matter of being choosy and waiting for those signals and not getting chewed up, with some of these stocks that are just giving back these moves as soon as they pop.
There's the sage advice. Don't get chewed up out there. But no, we got a bunch of good looking trades out there. Tickers are looking good. Again, Reddit's one of those stocks like I I would like to own it. There's just never a chance for me to buy it. Every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's too
And
expensive. It's going up,
see,
but
that's a good
it's a good
psychological
one.
thing. That's a good psychological thing right there, because when you start feeling that way, it's like, I really want to own this stock, but I can't find a place to buy it. Maybe it's a close your eyes and buy type of
Yeah.
chart then, because the best stocks, they're not going to wait at the station for you to hop on. They're going to go.
All right. Well, Gunnar, thanks for all the ideas. Thanks for everyone in the chat. We appreciate all the comments, questions, and we will keep an eye on these markets, and we'll see you next week on Top Trades. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Thanks.